Hello, my most amazing artists. Today we are going to be making something that is symmetrical, or it has symmetry. I'll explain what that means. Our art subject today is going to be snowflakes. Now, I know these don't look like beautiful white snowflakes that we see falling from our sky, but we're still going to use that same theme of a snowflake to make our designs. You'll have two options, just like you see here. One was done as a collage, or different cutout pieces that are glued onto a separate paper. So you can choose to do it with cut paper as a collage, or you can use markers, crayons, colored pencils to just draw your snowflake. So when we talk about symmetry, or things that are symmetrical, we're talking about when you draw a line down the middle of an object and both sides are the same. So with the butterfly on that first slide, if you drew a line down the middle of his body, both of his wings and both sides would be the same. And the same is true for these geometric shapes, as well as other things like hearts and snowflakes. So if you are making a symmetrical drawing, what you draw on one side, you must draw on the other side in the same place. Symmetry is all around us, especially in our natural world. All kinds of things have symmetry. So you can see a lot of these animals, if you were to draw a line down the middle of their face, both sides would look nearly identical. They might not be exactly the same, but both sides look very, very similar. So if you're gonna make your symmetrical snowflake using art making materials like crayons, markers, or colored pencils, I'm gonna show you how to do that right now. You will need a pencil first, and we're gonna draw some guidelines with our pencil first. So we want these to be really lightly drawn. So we're not gonna press really hard. We're gonna go from this corner to this corner with a light pencil line, and the other corner to the other corner with a light pencil line. Very light. Okay, so a big X first, and then we'll start in the middle and go up, the middle and out, the middle and down, the middle and left. Okay, so we have like a giant star shape to begin with. So what you'll need to decide first is what is going to be your line of symmetry, or where is that line going to be drawn that splits this snowflake in half to where both sides are equal. That can be any one of these lines. If you want your middle line here to be your line of symmetry, that means this side has to look like this side. Maybe you want this up and down vertical line to be your line of symmetry. That way this side and this side look the same. It can even be one of these diagonal lines. You just have to pick one and keep that in mind as you're working. So I think for this example, I'm gonna let this vertical up and down line be my line of symmetry. That way, whatever I do to this side, I have to do to this side. Then you can really just go to town and start designing your snowflake parts. So if, for example, let's say I added a 3 polka dot lines to this side. That then means that I have to add 3 polka dot lines in the same color to the other side, so this line. I'm gonna do the same thing on these pencil lines that are our guidelines. So now my drawing is symmetrical. You can keep going. Let's see, maybe I will add purple polka dot lines. Right now, my drawing is not symmetrical because this side looks different from this side. So to make it symmetrical, I need to do the same thing to the other side. Now, if we fold it in half or flip it over, they look the same. Alrighty, I'm gonna speed this up as I go. I am adding one design to the right side and then adding the same to the left, making sure that it is symmetrical. You can use any kind of shapes that you can think of. You can use shapes or lines even, like I've done here. And let's try and make our snowflakes extra colorful. And like I said, whatever you do to one side, make sure you do to the other so that we can say they are symmetrical. Alright, so the next part of this video is going to show you how to do the same thing, but with cut out pieces of paper as a collage instead of a drawing. Here we go. What you're going to need is a white paper, a glue stick, scissors, pencil, and then any kind of papers that you can find. So like I have some just colored construction paper. I have some old scraps of different things that were cut out. I have some painted papers that are also just scraps. And then I also might look through this magazine for some paper as well. The first step is the same as if you are drawing. You're going to make your guidelines by drawing really lightly an X across your paper from corner to corner, and then going from the middle up, the middle down, the middle right, and the middle left. So I'll be leaving a copy of this little handout in our Google Classroom under this assignment so that you have this to use if you would like it. But this is just some really good simple drawings that kind of show all the different shapes that we see in snowflakes. So you can use that. And then what we're going to do is really just start designing our snowflakes. So all you'll need to do is think about what shapes you want to put where. In a lot of those snowflakes, we see lines drawn that kind of make a shape like this. You see that? And so since we are using paper to make our collage, if we're gonna cut out a really skinny line, we can kind of do it like this. And so now I can take these little papers and glue them onto my paper. When you go to use your glue stick, it's going to be really important that you get a lot of glue on there. And since they're small, what I like to do is I like to put the piece that I cut out on top of the glue stick and then kind of rub it around on top. That way the whole thing gets covered in glue. And since it's so small, it kind of just sticks to my finger, and you can lay it down where you want and then press. Okay, if you have extra glue on your fingers, you can rub it like that and it will be gone. And I'm gonna do the same thing for this little piece. Stick it on top and just rub it around a little bit, whoa, so that I know it is covered in glue. If you don't put enough glue, we're gonna have some problems and our snowflake pieces will fall off. Okay, so there's my first piece. Since these are symmetrical, what you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. So what I'm gonna do is I can either put these same pieces over here because it's kind of reflected over, or I can do it on this line of this side. Either way is right. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut out 2 more little lines from that same color paper and glue them down here. And you will also notice that so that they are symmetrical, I have my lines pointing down like an arrow here, and they're pointing up like an arrow here. So they look the same if they were folded in half. Let's see, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna switch colors. I think I'm gonna grab this guy. And now if you want to do shapes, we can do shapes. So like if you wanted to do squares, you can cut 2 squares. And maybe I'll put my squares here. Okay, if you want to do triangles, you can also do triangles. Let's see, I'll use one of these. So if your papers that you're using are already, if they already have a straight edge on them, that makes it easier to cut out geometric shapes like squares and triangles, rectangles, and even these little lines, because all you have to do is cut beside it. So I'm going to do a little triangle. Okay, and then I'm going to cut another triangle so that I can put it on my snowflake symmetrically. Okay, so now I have 2 triangles. Maybe I will stick them here. Whoop. You can do really any shape. Maybe I want to do a circle. So another thing to notice is that as I'm cutting these shapes out, I'm not cutting them out from the center of my paper. I kind of started cutting at the edge, trying to use as much of that paper as I can and not waste any of it. So that's why I started cutting along the edge of this scrap. That way I have lots more to use for the rest of my snowflake. So if you want to have some long, skinny lines on your snowflake, you just need a thin strip of paper that you can cut really skinny slits into. You can kind of do it like fringe and cut off a bunch at one time. And then you can place those inside of your snowflake wherever you would like. So again, you're just gonna cut really skinny little lines like you would do fringe. And then you can cut them all off at the same time to make those really skinny parts of your snowflake. So the rest of this video is sped up as I was working through my snowflake, just cutting out those papers and gluing them down, making sure that every time I added something, I was making sure it was symmetrical and really nicely glued down. It's really fun to just cut out shapes or lines and then just kind of play around and see where they look good on your snowflake and where they can add symmetry to your snowflake.